Hello, everybody, and welcome into this edition of the PHNX Rising Podcast, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Edwin Perez, alongside my partner, Owain Evans, and behind the producing desk. I know I'm usually back there, but my boy Sean's back there.
What are you doing here, Edwin?
Listen, after my one mistake, you told me off, so we had to bring in the GOAT producer himself, Sean DePaz, a Phoenix Rising fan himself, too. So, I mean, we were going to have a great show with him.
Yes, sir.
I'm not here to replace Ramon. Let's not get it twisted.
I'm here to replace Edwin, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that's what happened after he wore that England kit one day, and now
this is his.
It can't be repaired now.
It's more about Sean kicking me out rather than me replacing Ramon. Let's just get this straight here before we start this. But make sure to like and share this podcast. Again, we always bring you this great content. We'd love to continue it, so make sure to do that. And follow us on Twitter. We promise some people that if we hit 500 goals, we'll do something. I know some outrageous shouts have been already said that you've already declined, but if you want to
shout out to Phoenix Rising Nation, who apparently is wearing a Landon Donovan t-shirt to the Rising Opener now.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows the power of our Twitter, really. It's going to be funny. I mean, if you don't want to wear the Landon Donovan shirt, wear what Owen's wearing right there, the PHNX Rising shirt. Make sure to check it out on PHNX Locker. You can get all sorts of gear, just like that beautiful bird up there. I mean, come on. Starting game, everyone's got to be wearing that, right?
Here's the question, right? Because you just called it a bird. Is it a bird or a burb? That's probably the most controversial question that's going to be asked today.
You put me on the spot. Now everyone's going to come at me because they love to call it the soccer burb. Yes, I am team bird there, but listen, if you call it a burb, I'm not going to judge you.
People are going to judge you, though, for the decision you just made.
I'm sorry. I mean, let's just hope that they come for you rather than me. But at this point, they're going to come for me because I am not Ramon. Again, let's put that clearance out there. But he'll be back with us. But Owen, we came here to talk about one thing. Obviously, that's the good old Rising. They have a doubleheader coming up.
They do. Closed door doubleheader tomorrow. That's going to be not streamed, so good luck to the fans. The good news is that we will be there. So we're going to be putting out content from there. Make sure to follow along, as usual, at PHNX _ Rising.
Double the fun.
Double the underscores, double the fun, right? We'll be putting out video clips, I'm sure, throughout the evening. But yeah, it's interesting because we're going to have two different teams that we really don't have a huge amount of knowledge of what they're going to be like this season. One of which for more obvious reasons than the other.
I mean, you're talking about this. We got two preseason games, right? And obviously, these fans are very reactive to these games, and they're expecting a lot. But we're going into a territory that we don't even know. I'm assuming that Rick and the club are also wondering what are they going to face come Friday. But hey, we'll find out at least. I mean, you kind of teased it a little bit. The first matchup with Valley United, 5:30 p.m. A mystery opponent. You said we only kind of know at least one name, maybe a few of their. What can we really expect out of that game?
So, in terms of looking at least at the what the coaching staff know, well, we know that Rick did watch Valley United's game against Sporting Kansas City. They drew that game 0-0. It was just before when Rising played SKC. And we know that, some of the guys like Jason Johnson, right, a former Rising player, he was training with Valley United. It does look like he's now left. And so you've now got Valley United who don't really have any players announced, at least, which is, of course, a problem when you're trying to preview a game. There is one guy who we know. We know that Ricardo Velazquez is with the squad, right? He's a local boy.
Yeah.
Just south from here. Pinal County is where he grew up. Went through the system playing for RSL's Academy. Went off to college. Played in Tucson for Rick. That's why we've heard Rick name drop him a few times. Played down there in FC Tucson. Had a good run of it down there. Ended up going to Monarchs. Did pretty well at Monarchs. He's a striker, by the way, Ricardo Velazquez. He scored 8 goals in 2016 for Monarchs. Got 6 assists. And that helped him on his way to breaking into the MLS side. Problem is, once he got into that MLS side, he got arrested and then convicted of sexual battery and served 45 days in jail. That's kind of ended his professional footballing career, right? He had a brief spell where he was in El Salvador. He then tried to move to FC Arizona. That one had a lot of backlash when he first signed there. I know that multiple national news outlets, I know CNN and others, were covering when he first signed for FC Arizona, which for an NPSL club is incredible. That doesn't happen. Yeah. And ultimately, he never really played a game for the club. So we don't know what he's been doing for the last few years, really. And now he's suddenly with Valley United. He's the only guy we actually know is there, but we don't know what he's going to even look like now. It's been years.
Yeah, it's a mystery. Like, it kind of fits. He fits this game, It's a mystery opponent. It's a mystery that he's on this team. So what are we going to expect Friday? In their first 3 games, they haven't given up a goal. So defensively, they got something back there. We don't know who it is, what it's going to look like, what we can expect tactically. But at least defensively, they're going to give Rising a struggle. Maybe we're going to learn a lot maybe about that number 9 spot, whether it be Greg Hurst or maybe Ian Repetto back there, front. So I think that element at least will be interesting for the game. Aren't they going to be who Rising faces in the U.S. Open Cup?
Yeah, so early April, sorry. It'd be somewhere between the 5th to the 7th. We don't yet know. They're working on TV schedules. That game will be at Casino Arizona Field. Now, of course, we don't know if this Valley United team will be the Valley United team they ultimately play then, because it's preseason, right? And the thing that goes hand in hand with not having a lot of announced players is that it's very possible that they don't know a huge amount about what this squad is really going to look like. They may well have a lot of trialists out there. We'll see what happens. But, it'll be interesting to see. I know that Rick made comments about their last game against Sporting Kansas City, and he was commenting about how, it was something that they battled in that game. He had a team of really hardworking players with Valley United. So I guess we're going to see that tomorrow.
I mean, that's you put it perfectly. I mean, that's what
it's
really
hard. It's hard.
It's so hard to preview a team
really,
that you don't know about. I mean, even Jeb put it in the comments, what's the DraftKings over/under on this game? I mean, what can we even put? I mean, 1.5. I feel like there's going to be at least goals.
It could be. We could show up that anyone could be playing for Valley United. We just don't know.
They could pull someone from the streets.
We got a team where we know maybe one of their players, right?
Absolutely.
We don't know where they're playing for their home stadium. Mm-hmm. We know they're playing in Nisa, which is a mess in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's just weird, isn't it? It's weird going to a game and having genuinely no idea. Because even when Rising played Sporting Arizona in the Cup years ago, Sporting Arizona as an amateur team, right?
Yeah.
We at least knew something about some of the players that were there.
Yeah.
But these guys, we got no idea.
It's such a mystery. I mean, I even listened to some of the podcasts that, some of their content that they've released, and then even they kind of have made a mystery. They said they got 3 core players, and then after that, they're still trying to figure out who's going to be on the squad. I mean, this is why they say the preseason is so important for Valley United, is like they're trying to figure out who the team is coming the season to get ready. But, I mean, other than that, what other scouting report can we really give?
I mean, I've just looked on their Twitter. This is literally it, right? This is all we've got. So they went boxing a couple of days ago. They're playing the game which says closed door subject to change. That's not subject to change. On tomorrow's game is closed door. That's it. Like, there's literally nothing to go by. I know we were talking about Louisville and it was like, oh, we don't know, quite what they'll put out because it's preseason. But this is just a whole nother level.
No, this is like deep. Even if you had all your sources and all that, you wouldn't know what this team's going to put out. I mean, I even know I did deep research that they were in Puerto Peñasco, Mexico, like 4 weeks ago, searching for players, and that they found some for the U23 team. So, I mean, I feel like I know a little more about the U23 team rather than the team that we're going to see tomorrow. But We'll find out.
Or maybe it will be the U20. We really don't know.
A team we do know about a little more. Let's talk about that because I feel like we can't talk about the unknowns this whole show. We gotta give at least some content. That's Detroit City, 7:30, the Nice All-Stars. There's a familiar face there.
Yeah, the Nice All-Stars. So there is a familiar face in there that most Rising fans will recognize, or maybe not, as the case may be, given that he didn't actually play a game in front of fans last season, or he may have done in Tucson.
I think it was in Tucson, yeah.
He may have played in Tucson in preseason, but he didn't play a single regular season game, I don't believe, for Rising.
No.
And that's Declan Wynn.
Yep.
So, yeah, he came to Rising, didn't really do anything. After a serious injury that, of course, he'd miss over a year, you know?
Yeah.
So he was trying to work his way back into professional football, and clearly Rising was not the place for him to do that. He ended up getting loaned out to OKC Energy. Didn't have that bad a season there, given that, you know, he is... Well, he's a fullback by nature, but he's someone who can slot in when you have that back free, if you're going with more free central defenders. So, you know, he got, 4 assists last year for OKC Energy. That's not bad for a player who's playing in those kind of positions.
Yeah, more stats than he put up here.
It's not necessarily someone that you'd expect is going to set the world on fire, the USL team. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you look at the team that Detroit have got. You look at some of the guys they brought back. You know, Nate Steinwasser has spent pretty much his entire career with Detroit City. Brief spell in the lower leagues in Sweden with a club that I can't even work out what league they're in. Okay? You've got Matt Lewis, who spent some time with Swope Park Rangers in USL in 2018.
Not bad.
But also, as recently as this past off-season, was playing in the Major Arena Soccer League. So...
Yeah, that tells you the slate.
Then you got Stephen Carroll, who's an Irishman who spent the best part of his career playing with Detroit, including when they were in NPSL. Maxi Rodriguez, there's a guy who's actually got something to him, you know? He's not necessarily the most creative of midfielders, but he's strong in the tackle. He wins a lot of duels. He spent time with San Antonio and with Richmond, actually, in USL.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so he wins a lot of duels. He's got a good presence in the midfield, even if he isn't the kind of guy who'll be pulling the strings and creating chances, right? But then you look at the others. You've got Connor Rutz, who's only ever played for DCFC. You got Pato Botello, a striker from Mexico who scored 4 goals in Nice last season in 16 games. Like, you know, he really set Nice a lot. And that's, bearing in mind, right, Detroit City were effectively Nice's super team.
Yeah, basically. The best that they could offer at Nice.
Yeah. There was very little competition for Detroit in that league over the time they spent in there. So if you weren't absolutely dominant in that league, what makes you think he's going to step up?
Yeah. If you really like, what's the step? Like you mentioned, what's the step up? Like, what's going to change this year? Because it seems like this team of last year, you know, if we call them the Nice, also the superstars, they're not adding anyone of substantial like level up that's going to change the game for them. You know, we mentioned Declan Wynn and all of them. It's going to be a similar squad that should be able to dominate the lower level. So he's not going to produce stats out of nowhere. I don't think he's improved over the offseason, put in X amount of work to flip that 4 goals into 15, 16 goals in a season. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think there's going to be significant progress, at least. So it will be interesting to see, though. Come this season, maybe in the preseason, we'll see. Is he a changed man?
Maybe. I mean, I will say there's one person I think that you maybe were being a little bit unfair to. Then one guy they brought in who does have a good amount of USL experience, and that's Antoine Hopper, right?
Okay, that's fair.
He could be a really big spark in that team. Yeah, he struggled last year, okay? Although he did get a few more goals last year than normally he does. He scored 4 goals last year for Lou City. His assists did drop off, but in that 2020 shortened season, he had 7 assists for Lou City.
That's true.
Right? That's not bad, given that there were only 16 regular season games. Now, in the midfield, I think, you know, and he's also got a really long history in this league, by the way. He goes back to 2014. He's been around a lot of clubs. If you wanted a guy who was the kind of person who would help you to make a statement coming into this league, he's the kind of guy you'd want as an expansion club. The problem is that I don't think they've really gotten in the pieces they need around him. Okay? So, I mean, again, right, even the other guys they brought in who've got USL experience, Brad Dunwell from OKC, he was a bench guy in OKC. He passed the ball around a lot. What did he do with it?
Yeah,
Nothing. Right? 4 key passes in 22 appearances.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, maybe I unfairly You know, I got to give credit to you. I unfairly put it just a whole label on the team. You're right. That's a key addition, but I feel like tactically though, we're gonna see a similar kind of setup as last season. Am I wrong? I mean, are we gonna expect that come tomorrow a Detroit City side that's gonna look like last season?
Well, we don't entirely know for obvious reasons, right? It's hard to track a lot of these things. I mean, tactically, one thing we do know about them is that they like that back three. They have the three defenders, two wing backs, but they're not a really wide team going forward. They typically play with two forwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of their width is coming from those wing backs, which is interesting because it does mean that with a team that likes to really push their wing backs forward and they have wingers in rising, we could see that they're going to overload those wings possibly. I mean, even with five at the back, which is kind of what it is, but kind of what it isn't, it's a fairly positive tactic from Detroit, right? They like to bring the game to the opponents, which, admittedly, I guess we'd expect in a league like Nisa where they were completely in control of that league, really, right?
Yeah.
Now, do they change that coming into USL? Maybe. I mean, the guy they've got in charge, Trevor James, he's not a daft coach.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought so, right?
Yeah.
He may adopt something that's a little bit more negative, that is looking maybe to concede less goals rather than score more, and just see how that works out. But, I mean, yeah, at the moment, that's all we can really tell.
Yeah, but so let's say they do end up tomorrow playing that 5 back. Are we going to see Rising kind of try to counter that, or are they going to stick to their guns of the 4-3-3 kind of, or maybe experiment? I mean, I've seen experiments of a 4-4-2, especially with hers and Pedo up there. I mean, what does Rising come out with if they do come out with that 5 back?
It's interesting because you think that it's not just about results, obviously. For Rising, right? If Rick wants to try the 4-4-2 out, he might well try it against them just to see. What Rick's not gonna do going into tomorrow, I think, is plan on what he thinks will be the tactic that will necessarily best go against what they're gonna bring specifically. If he wants to try something else out, he's gonna try that out. I think one person actually. Sorry, I was just looking back at my notes and I realized there was one person we forgot to mention from Detroit, and that is, of course, that Billy Forbes is on trial there. Or he was in trial there, right? At least around about a week ago, right? We knew that he was there. He was shooting images from the Detroit City clubhouse. Now, he's a guy who does have experience in this league. He has scored a fair few goals over the past few seasons. And, of course, he's kind of familiar here.
Yeah.
Right? He played here in Phoenix Rising. It was a bit of a disappointment here, to be honest. Then he moved back to San Antonio, got released from them mid-season. We don't really know why. They've never actually expanded on that as to why he got released. But I mean, I know that here, from his time here, he wasn't necessarily the most liked person in the clubhouse.
No.
And so when you look at a guy like Billy Forbes, he's a guy who might be good for them in terms of his footballing ability, especially for a club that are probably going to struggle with some of them making the adjustments up. But I'm not sure he's necessarily the guy you want in the clubhouse.
Yeah. I mean, the fans know who he is, and given the history and what he's done, I don't know if that's the best thing, best name to have around there, but hey, I mean, we may see him out there. We don't know for
tomorrow.
It's not for certain though that he signed with the club, right? That it was just a trialist, correct?
Well, that's our understanding. We know that he was training there, and we know that Detroit had several trialists on the books. I mean, look, it's one of the classic examples where footballers who go on trial or are about to sign for a club seem to sometimes forget that their social media is a thing, and that when you post things, people can see what you're posting. And when you post stuff that is very recognizably in a certain location, we know. Like,
I mean, Owen will find out.
In that case, he'd been posting videos from the car park in Detroit, and he said in Detroit, and then inevitably
you made it very
you go
obvious.
out on Google Maps, you look it up, and you're like, oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, I mean, you can put the two together, but I mean, at least from the Detroit side, I think that's going to be the true test. I feel like. I mean, obviously, Val United, nothing against them, and I'm not saying, I'm crapping on them or nothing like that, but this is like the USL side. This is the new USL side. It's going to be something that, Rising can truly test themselves against these new clubs in the USL. Because, I mean, they're going to face Monterey Bay come the season start, and that's going to be a new club. So they're going to have to respond to what a new team, what a new 11, and a new manager can do against Rising. So at least that can test them. But, I I mean, overall, when we leave Friday though, we got a doubleheader, obviously. What do you want to see from Rising? Like, what's your big expectations, or maybe something that you want to learn from the team? Because for me, at least, it's going to be that number 9 battle between Repetto and Hurst. What's that situation in the center back situation? We talked about how who's going to be that number 4, and getting fitness and staying healthy. But what do you want from these doubleheader?
I think that one of the things you mentioned there really is the most important thing in terms of what we're looking for in the next couple of weeks is who's going to get that number 9 spot. Because one thing that we know and we've seen in the past with especially happened with Rick in the past with how he rotated the goalkeepers when you had both Karl Watinski and Zach Lubin there, is that often whoever would start has the advantage, right? That's their spot to lose. Yeah. And if they're a little bit shaky, then the other one comes in, and ultimately it's whoever hits form at the right time.
Yeah.
So if you can secure that starting spot now, get yourself out there and hit form as soon as the season starts, you're probably going to lock up that starting striker spot for the entire season. And I think that's what's interesting, because we really don't know who ultimately Rick wants to go with. Does he want to go with Greg Hurst? Does he want to go with Claudio Repetto? We really don't know. They're both slightly different strikers. Repetto's a bit taller, a bit more of an aerial striker. But they both like to come deep. They both like to come deep and get involved in the midfield, in the build-up play. So it's interesting because we also haven't even seen either of them score in the preseason. Now, caveat to that slightly, of course, it's the goal. We'll never know if it was a goal. The flag that went up, who knows? Who knows if Repetto scored that goal? Who knows if it was offside?
The fans give it to him.
The fans are giving it to him, yeah.
The chat gave it to him, and when we talked about it, I mean, like Pat says right there, small sample size, but Repetto has looked more solid. I think he, right now, would have the edge on that.
I think he definitely does have the edge at the moment. And part of that is that how he came in, right? This is a guy who has scored at this level. He scored 9 goals for Charleston last year, whereas Greg Hurst is a guy who's only scored in this country in League One.
Yeah.
And as well as he did down there with Union Omaha, almost stumbled over that.
There we go.
It's not quite the same replacement for the experience that he has, that Repetto has in the championship.
And someone that we haven't talked about, I feel like he was listed as a number 9 when he was transferred in Richmond. Is Richmond a legit option for that number 9, or is he gonna drop back to another kind of maybe wing, maybe off the bench, come off, for maybe a Marcus, maybe even a Greg Hurst? Because like you said, he was listed as a number 9 when he came into Rising. He's
a different kind of number 9, though. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're gonna see. He gives a different tactical option there in a way that. Yes, there's a difference between Repetto and Hurst. Okay, there is a difference there, but not as stark as the difference we're expecting almost from Hanswig. And Richmond is a player that has also got quite a lot of unknown about him. This is a guy who's played his entire career in Africa. He's got a lot of goals in Sudan, but ultimately we don't quite know how that translates into what his performance will be like over here. And he's also young. He's 21, as Jed, they're saying, it's one for the future, right? So he's got a future here, you'd hope. He's signed on a multi-year contract. He's young, he's 21. Maybe he'll get some minutes, especially if Rick goes with a 4-4-2, as has been mentioned. I'm not entirely sure whether we will see that. It's only last year that we had the whole, we're going to try with 3 at the back, and then that was tried in one friendly and never seen again since. But I think that he may have a role there if they try and change things up tactically. But beyond that, maybe he plays in a different position. Maybe he goes out on loan. He's probably just more of one for the future.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I just felt like we haven't talked about him because for the last preseason game, he was in street clothes, correct? And we didn't even see him any minutes. So I think that's something that's pondered. Maybe he's gonna probably have that maybe super sub kind of role, get some minutes later in the year, maybe even for the Open Cup. Let's say they do make a deep run. I'm not making assumptions here, and don't quote me on this. Don't clip me for this. But if they do make a deep run,
we'll clip that and put that on social media tonight.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me if they get on the first round.
And I'll retweet it every time after they, if they struggle to win a game.
Most important question. Most important question about this doubleheader: which trialist is going to do the best? I got trialist number 6. I think he's going to put a shift off the bench. Come on. The fans love to talk about
I don't know
trialists.
how many trialists we're even going to have. I think we're actually going to have a lot more named people this time because we're going to have academy kids. And they often name the academy kids.
Yeah.
That's like Blaze and I'm forgetting all their names now. It's a shame. Without Niall Dunn there now, our favourite academy kid, unfortunately, is not available.
Where's Ansu?
Ansu, I'm not sure. He was injured, wasn't he, last year? He had a really bad injury that ended his season. It's entirely possible that he comes back. In fact, I think that we're going to see them at centre backs, some kind of academy kids, because they're short on centre backs.
That's a good point. Will one of these academy players step up and take that number 4 role?
Well, Niall did it last year.
That's true.
That's the question.
So if one of them step up, do you think that Rick's going to avoid the loan? Because, I mean, it seemed like the obvious answer right now is to bring someone else from maybe an MLS side and bring him on loan and maybe get him some minutes.
See, I stand by it's not that easy because you really have to be able to give him minutes.
That's
true.
true.
It's especially now with MLS Next Pro, it's that bit harder because they have a team to play for. It's not like it used to be where it was either you're playing for the under-19s or, well, a lot of them weren't even able to play in that sense.
Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it?
I mean, it adds definitely a different element to getting that number 4 role. So maybe the response is going to be an academy kid that we're going to see come tomorrow. I mean, come on, the Niall Dunn story. I mean, if you followed it, he turned from nobody to a fan favorite. I mean, you saw him in Tucson before they even signed him.
He looked really good in those preseason games, and that was a rough preseason for Rising. I mean, we're sitting here talking about a lot of stuff now. If this was a year ago, we'd have been talking about, are we concerned for the home opener?
That's true.
That's how that preseason was going at this point. They struggled. Losing to Omaha twice was rough. Losing on aggregate to Colorado Springs was rough. Those were not good games. Getting absolutely demolished by New Mexico. I mean, that was a really hard one to swallow.
But I think after last season, they learned that let's not take too much into the results. I mean, we saw last year and all the shouts that happened after all the losses. People said Rising are going to be bottom of the table after this preseason. And then they showed up right first game. So I'm expecting that fans were like, okay, let's calm our expectations with this preseason. Let's be real here. Let's get, fitness is the importance here, gain the team chemistry and all that. And we'll get that figured out by game 1. So I think maybe that element has, tempered the expectations of at least the preseason. But let's take a little quick break. Hoop fans, that's right. We are back from the All-Star break finally. I mean, come on. If you're going to bet on the Suns, it's the time to do it. The latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is too good to pass up. I'm talking between the legs 360 windmill good. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. Come on, you got to hammer it. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on the NBA with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your money cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX. That's right. You see it right above me, PHNX. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus, Arizona only. Gambling problem, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum is $5 deposit. Eligibility.
You'll get there, Edwin.
I choked on the end. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbooks for details. Wow, that was terrible with the eligibility. I can't even say that word right now.
Now that you've done that, I'm going to put you on the spot now, okay?
Yeah, I can't even say that word right now.
The read's about basketball.
Yeah.
I want your hottest basketball take for it that you'd go for a bet now. Come on.
Oh, for
and you've
a
got
bet?
to justify. Our Suns guys are outside. So,
I mean, they're going to come and barge in the door.
You can go justify your bad take to them.
I love to bet points, rebounds, and assists. That's a flash bet that you can easily do. I did that with Chris Paul when he got ejected in that game, so that didn't work that day. But if you go Devin Booker, especially without Chris Paul, I think that's a lock for the over. Regardless of the number. I don't even have to see the number. That's how confident I am that Devin Booker is going to come up with the over for points, rebounds, and assists. That's
all
right.
of them.
All of them.
You're going for all of them.
Because, no, they do a thing where they lay, let's say, 40. So as long as Devin Booker gets 40 in combination of points, rebounds, and assists, you're good.
I'm learning things. Okay.
I got to teach you. I mean, I know it's no footy for you. I know you don't. You won't bet any basketball, but hey, I'm trying to teach you some stuff. Maybe get you some money. But hey, we'll see. Let's have some fun though. I mean, I'm wearing a kit. I feel like it's natural to talk about just some good old soccer kits. What's your favorite Rising kit? Now let's put the disclaimer in, because I mean we could easily
we're
talk
adding
about
the disclaimer of just Rising ones.
Yeah, because I mean easily we could talk about the Nigeria soccer kit. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen the Nigeria kits, they're always the best every World Cup. I mean, I have like 3 of them. That just tells you the state of them. But your favorite Rising kit.
So I was told that I couldn't pick a Bandidos kit for this, right? That would be cheating, apparently. Is what I was told. So I am going to actually abide by that rule.
Nice job.
Despite the fact that most of the Bandidos kits are, unfortunately, substantially better than what the club puts out, right?
Yep.
Which we know. I think that the best Rising kit, in my opinion, was the 2019 Black and Copper.
Oh.
I think that was just an iconic kit that featured the copper without, I know people like, I can see there's a comment on the copper state, but come on, it's a white kit. We don't like white kits of Rising.
Curse.
It's the curse, right?
Come on
With
now.
the exception of the white kit being worn by our Lord and Savior back here, Long Tan.
Yeah, he's
Arizona
back
United
this week.
fame. He's back today, yeah.
Let's be clear.
But I'm going with the black and copper.
That's fair. I'm going to go with my favorite, right, really quick, because I mean, I'm wearing it right now. I think the black and red design was really good last season. It's the first one I personally bought of the Rising. I mean, I'm a man of kits, so if I buy the kit, it's a cool jersey. So I at least got to give it a shout out. Like the Carvana, the kit, the red lines are clean. I feel like it's just simple, but it's effective.
It is, but can we get Thomas's comment back up there? Because yes,
Yeah,
Thomas, yes.
Exactly.
Bandidos kits are the greatest. In fact, I would go so far as to say not only this stadium here, but there's any USL stadium. I'm gonna make that bold claim, especially when you're up against things like San Antonio's kit they released yesterday, where it was just like everyone's going, "Oh, it's so clean." It's a black T-shirt. It's black. That's it. That's all there was.
And
right?
you can't even
black.
see. Yeah, you really can't see the.
You can't see the numbers. You can't see the sponsor. It's a
just...
black shirt. I give up.
But
Bandidos kits are just the best, though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We haven't talked to one man here. I mean, he's kind of a drip god himself. And Sean Apollo. Sean, lay it on us.
Listen, I am disagreeing with Owen. I know we're slandering the white kits, but those 2020 white kits with the different Arizona cities on the sleeves are very clean. I'm a man of detail, and I like when you add a little local flair to the design. Those are probably my favorites.
So if they come out with another white kit this year, Sean, are you gonna cop it, or is?
I mean, it depends. It's got to be like that level of clean. Because generally speaking, I do like the black kits more, but like those white kits in particular, I like the detail on the sleeve. But I think in general, I agree with Owen that white's pretty tough for a.
I think the comment that's just popped up there, I think
they disagree.
It really well encapsulates exactly what we think about the white kit, and it is white is shite.
Well, do you think that they would still feel that way if it wasn't that curse? I mean, if they just managed to get results with that white, because I think it looks clean.
I don't know. But the thing about it is that everyone has a white kit in this league. Like, it's boring, right?
Yeah.
Let's do something that's, and unfortunately, just, while we're being fun, let's just keep in with these comments, because I think that you're being ousted here, or Ramon's being ousted.
Listen, I've been telling people, Sean's here to replace me. I'm just here.
Yeah.
I'm just here as the
Although
backup.
he does have a bad taste in fashion, so.
I mean, the people love it. The people want more
I'm
Sean.
not sure they do. We've got white is shite in the.
That's true, but I mean, keep Sean on was a direct comment.
That's true.
Listen,
That's true.
I'm not gonna let you get away with slandering my taste in fashion, Owen.
Unfortunately, when it comes to Rising kits, clearly it's wrong, though. I mean, I won't comment on anything beyond the Rising kits, but just on this one. Just on this one, I'm afraid that you are mistaken.
All right, I will concede that you probably are more of an authority on the rising kits in particular.
To make you feel happy, Sean, I'll say this. Listen, Sean is a drip god. You know, when you see Sean, he'll be dripping. Look at that. See, he's got the hat. He's got the nice jacket on. I mean, even the facial hair, got the glasses. Listen, this is not the Sean show, but it seems like it's turning into it.
Listen, every show at PHNX is the Sean show. Recognize.
That's what we should make it. Everyone sees more Sean. Even Jet said it. So, I mean, clearly that's the fix. But let's get talking to our final point. And, you know, please, if you're commenting, please drop any questions that you have. We'll get to it and we'll answer them. But
we should have some time at the end. If anyone wants to throw questions in, maybe we can find some time to discuss them. As long as they are in good taste, let's say, chat. In good taste, please.
Yes, questions that both me and Owen will not get to slap, like a little hand wrist slapping if we answer. But we're going to have to do something that, you know, it looks like the creepy ex that stalks, you know, people that leave, you know, that kind of vibe where you check up on
you make that sound really bad.
I mean, it's just like
we're about to talk about players that have left the club and where they're going now.
It's just like,
and you're making it sound creepy.
No, I'm not trying to make it sound creepy, but isn't it just like the ex thing where you're like, okay, where is this ex gone? You know, are they doing good? Are they happy? I mean, come on now. I feel like that's fair.
Why are you making this weird?
Why don't we say that it's like a best friend that moved to a different school and
okay,
you're checking on them on Facebook?
Sean, you keep making me look bad all night long. You put it in a way better way than I could. I was trying to be fun with it, but you know what, Owen? Fine. All right, Owen. We'll talk about the best friend that moved away, and we're just checking in on them. You know, we're checking the little hello. How's it going? So what's the best way you want to do? So you want to go down the list, or do you want to go take it one by one here?
You know what? Go on. You just read the names out. I know we've both got the same thing there. Emma, stop. Why? Emma's commenting it's an undisclosed injury. We know what the injury is. It's a hip injury. We've known this since Tuesday.
Yeah, we've talked about it. And that's why we talked about the fourth center back. But
okay, my bad. I didn't know it was hip. But guys, it's a hip injury.
And this is why she's the intern.
Yeah.
Tough. But let's go. I'll say the name where he went, and then you can add your comment on them, and we'll keep going through the list because there's a large list. Some of the names are obviously huge. Obviously, some are waiting to see where Solo goes. So he's not on the list because we don't know where he's going to end up, but obviously we'll follow him. But the first one, Andre Rawls. I mean, a guy that, you know, he kind of got that number one spot last season. I mean, it's kind of the reason why Lunt kind of left because their parent club saw he wasn't getting that playing time necessarily, but also due to injury. Let me also preface that. But his option got declined by Colorado. He seems to be on trial with Vancouver. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the last we've seen. He was on trial with Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. Vancouver Whitecaps in MLS. But yeah, at the moment, you know, who knows really? Who knows?
But the man we know where he's at right now is Zach Lubin.
Zach Lubin, the NFT god himself. Well, he obviously missed the entirety of last season through injury. He's still rehabbing that to a degree. He's become obsessed with the pigeons. Pigeons of Tuesday's show fame.
We all
I think he was at a conference the other day, wasn't he, down in Mesa?
He was.
He was at a conference with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
performing about NFTs.
That's the place to be, focusing on your NFT game. No more.
We're talking about the NFTs.
No
again.
more footy. No more being
there we go. We've
one.
had enough NFTs for today because we spent too long on them.
Oh, and did you think when you got this job, you're going to be talking about Snoop Dogg and NFTs?
You know, I really didn't. And yet, the amount of time we spent talking about the value of those pigeons in the last episode was just too much. So let's move on. Please, let's move on.
Fair enough. Toby Adewale.
So he obviously left during the season last year, went off to Indy 11. Now, Indy 11 has been completely and utterly gutted by Mark Lowry coming in. He has just been cutting players left, right, and center. Mark Lowry, of course, who spent a few seasons down in El Paso, really built them into a powerhouse. And it's interesting to see that move. It makes you wonder what motivated him to move to Indy, but I think we can guess what probably motivated him to move up there. But ultimately, Toby didn't make the cut. it remains to be seen quite what's going to happen with him now.
Yeah, so it's a big question mark. What's next for his future? But I mean, you can still. Do you expect to see him stateside still?
Yeah, of course I do. He's a good player. I think he kind of lost favor here, which is why he became maligned quite quickly. But he started the season as a starter.
That's true.
Right? Like, if you're starting a season as a starter at Phoenix Rising, you probably got something about you when, a lot of the clubs in this league are generally looking up the table towards Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, it ain't easy to be in that number 11 sheet. So, I mean, like you said, credit to him. A name I expected to see more last season. I'm not discrediting what he did during the club, but I expect him to see him on the sheet, at least off the bench more. Noah Billingsley.
Well, that's an interesting one, right? Because he had his option declined by Minnesota. I think it's really, really interesting to see where he's going to end up, because, again, we just don't know. He's been posting a lot from New Zealand over the off-season, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
You're right. I mean, a name that we did see on the starting 11 quite a lot, a guy that resonated with the fans during his time here, Tate Schmidt.
Tate Schmidt, indeed. He's gone back to RSL. So, yeah, his loan came to its end. He's gone back up to RSL. Maybe he's actually going to compete for a spot up there and actually play in MLS this season with them.
I mean, he's got the quality. I mean, let's not. I mean, his runs from the wing back to all the way to the wing and what he could do on the field, that was impressive. So I got to give credit to Schmidt. I enjoyed watching him while he's here, so I'll definitely be following that one. I mean, we already talked about this, man.
Declan Wynn, yeah, off to the Nisa All-Stars. Good luck to him there.
How much more do we need to add? I mean,
I don't think there is much more to add, is there?
We'll say hi to him tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
We'll give him a little shout. But the guy we saw at the number 9 spot a little late in the season because of
I don't know why.
The issue. John Baquero.
John Baquero, yeah. So he's moved over to Bulgaria, playing for Slavia Sofia. He scored his first goal for him recently, so good for him. But yeah, he's back in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting to see that at the end of the season, with the situation with that number 9 spot, we had to see John Baquero at that number 9 spot. I mean, it added intrigue, it added a wrench to it, but hey, we'll follow along. I mean, he's someone that some of the fans obviously really love, but someone who didn't get him much of a role maybe in the team, but off the bench, David Lewera.
Yeah, David Lewera off to San Antonio. Now, he was a guy who last season, was just. He kept coming off the bench, and the guy could run and run and run and run and run and run and run, right? He just wouldn't stop. Now, he didn't necessarily do a lot with it, but he could run for days. And that actually is a really good fit for that San Antonio team, because they're a team that like to press up high. They're a team that like to play with that really kind of like high-tempo pressing system that I think is really going to fit Lewera. Because he did love to just constantly run and run and run. And he played often in that number 10 kind of role. He'd replace Arturo, right?
Yeah.
He'd be central. But the next minute, he was out on the wings. He'd be over on the other wing. He was covering a lot of ground in those games. So I think San Antonio is going to really suit him.
Especially when that back line, gets tired and they're not in the game. I mean, he's going to give that effort. He's going to still be there in the last 20 minutes running to every ball, even when he loses it. So he's that energetic guy, He's that guy who's gonna make an impact and truly just give it his all. You can't question what he does defensively and all that. So it'll be fun to watch him. But we got to move on. Another attacking option in Prince Sadie, who obviously left the club.
Yeah, so Prince Sadie, we're actually going to see him probably again this season. He's gone to Hartford, which I'm not really sure what to say about Hartford beyond mediocre. Like, they've really not done a good job of putting a team together this season.
Yeah.
You look at some of the gaps. They've gone down the kind of route of just not having a true number 9 in there. Yeah. Which is interesting. Are they going to try and put Prince in that kind of a role? Maybe. Probably not. But
I just don't see Prince
they're not necessarily as wide up the pitch as they could be. I think it's just going to be interesting to see how he settles in there. Now, he's not the only ex-Rising player there. Peter Lee Vassell, who we saw briefly in the end of that 2019 season when he came on loan from LAFC, is also at Hartford. But I'm just intrigued to see how they fit him in. But, I wouldn't be too confident of Hartford's chances this season. Let's put it that way.
Well, they haven't recruited too many people, as you mentioned, and it just seems like they haven't progressed forward, and it seems like they're
They
just taking
utterly
steps.
fell away in the last half of last
Yeah,
season.
they took in a lot of steps back, but
Yeah.
I don't think Sadie's that answer at number 9 for them. But I mean,
I'd hope they're not trying to play him up there, because I think it would
hope
be
not.
a very strange choice if they did go for that, but who knows?
to be fair, I was critical about Carroll being that number 9, but hey, I mean, he got some goals up there.
He did, in fairness.
You got to give him credit there. But all the headlines this offseason, obviously, you got a lot on Twitter, was about Solomon Asante and whether he's going to come back. It was officially confirmed he wasn't coming back. So, Owen, the people need to know, where is Solo going?
I mean, the answer is just to shrug. Look, he's been in talk with some USL teams. It hasn't really progressed to the point where, a deal can actually be made. It's really uncertain at this point, and part of that, I know we've almost done this one to death, but like, as a winger, to suffer a hamstring injury in your early 30s and you lose that yard of pace, it is a killer.
Yeah.
Right? And we saw that in the second half of the season when he was struggling to score goals. He was just battling through that nagging injury that has continued, and he's continued getting treatment for the offseason for it. It's hard. And, I think there are probably a couple of other teams in USL that would be interested. Would they be able to pay what he'd probably want to be paid? Who knows?
Is he interested to go back in the States? Is that something that we know, or is he going to...
Well, he's open to it from what I gather. He's been in the negotiations with some of these clubs, so,
I mean, I know the fans want to see where he's going to go. I mean, I've seen it even on Twitter. There's a movement of where is Solo. So follow closely on that one, but no names. Shea Adekoya.
Shea Adekoya, the Nigerian, yeah, we don't know where he's going. He was on loan with OKC. Again, this is a lot of shit, especially, and that's because it is a product with guys like Shea Adekoya. It's kind of like a product of the trialist system, right?
Yeah.
It's the fact that clubs bring these guys in, don't sign them to contracts in the preseason, just so they can try them out and work out what they want to do, but they never name him. Okay, so he'll go out and he might play for some of these teams, but he'll be trialist 4.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything to us.
That's true.
And then, it goes on and on and on. That's... Look, who knows? We'll hopefully find out. I think he's probably got a future in USL, but it's a question of where at this point.
My favorite thing is that a lot of this list is unknown, like,
a lot of them are.
Yeah, a lot of them
really
are
is. But that's also speaks to where USL is in the pecking order, right?
Yeah.
Now Nice has come up, and yes, there's League One, but there's not a lot of room to drop off. If you have a bad season, where do you go?
I mean, you're right. I mean, but my favorite thing, though, to continue the point, is just like it's all unknown. Yeah, we know Lubin is in the NFT game. I mean,
pigeons.
Gotta bring back the pigeons. They're godly.
Bring back the pigeons.
Someone we do know where he's gonna end up, and we're gonna see Rising face him later in the year.
We are
in the number 9 spot. David Egbo. We'll see
David Egbo. I mean,
if he is the number 9 there.
I'm almost expecting they're gonna try and put him in the number 9 spot. I'm intrigued how that works out because while he hit the ground running here, he fell away very quickly. He scored, I believe, a brace on like the 18th of July and didn't score again until roughly the same time in October.
Mm-hmm.
And something that you saw was just the way that his confidence was beaten out of him when Rufat Dadashov left. And he was struggling to score, and you could see this is a kid who was in his first professional season, and he had the weight of the entire team on his shoulders, and he couldn't score.
Yeah.
And you just watched as the confidence was just draining out of him game after game after game. It really hit low after that Oakland loss.
I mean, that's partly the reason why we saw Bakura at the number 9. I mean, because we saw Darren Maddox, and I think he was the short-term resolution. But coming Bakura at that number 9 spot, I mean, partially because of Egbo's confidence, it just seemed... And it's not like he didn't have his chances. It's not like the team was unfairly setting him up. He had his chances, and even every time in the press conference afterwards... Are we worried he's not hitting that? Are we worried? So hopefully he regains his confidence over there. I mean, I think he can be a good player. He just needs to add to the number 9. What's your role? Mm-hmm. Put the ball in the back of the net. So we'll see if he can do it over there in Memphis. But when you look at this list, I'm gonna put you on the spot again. Who's gonna have the brightest future of this? Yeah, I'm right.
That is a question.
I'm putting Owen right on the spot.
You really are there.
And they're gonna clip this and probably see this.
Oh no! Don't do that to me. I think that Egbo has potential if he's played in the right way. And he's someone who was really highly regarded when he came down to Phoenix. Okay, he was someone that a lot of Whitecaps fans were really kind of pinning some hopes on. And there was actually, especially given how poor Whitecaps were playing, some of them at one point, especially when he was scoring those goals early doors, were talking about, can we recall him? Can we get him back? Well, that's obviously not the case after what then followed. Where he struggled for a while. But I think that he's got the potential to have the brightest future. I think, some of the other guys are that like mid-career and they've kind of hit the point now where they are all they're going to be. They're not going to go and be superstars. I think, if I had to pick anyone, I'm going to go with David Egbo.
I like that. I think that's very fair. For me, I was always a fan of Rawls' skills at that goalkeeping spot, and I really do think that he did a great job. Now, where that translates into an MLS team, which you said he's a trial of Vancouver and all that, I think he could do great. So I think it's truly what spots can give him that number one role, because I think there's a lot of competition, especially in the MLS, for that top goalkeeper, and they know by this point who that is. So what side could fit him the best? I don't know. That's my biggest issue. I think with Egbo, you know where he's at and the role that he can fit. So I can give you that.
And it's hard for goalkeepers, right? Because if you're not number one, you're not playing.
Exactly.
Like, you have to be. It's not like, Egbo can go join an MLS team, get 10 minutes off the bench, and if he does well, suddenly he can fight his way into the squad. You don't get that if you're a goalkeeper.
And not a lot of teams do the rotation that Rising did last season.
No, they don't. Exactly.
You don't want to see...
That was strange. That was honestly the Rawls one game, Lunt the next was weird.
Were we gonna see that?
I'm quite happy that it doesn't look like that's going to be happening again this year.
No Lalo and Ben Lunt.
I don't think
rotation.
In the same way. Not in the same way.
That's fair. that's very fair. I mean, before we wrap this up, obviously it's been a great episode. Any last notes about, obviously we're heading to tomorrow, this great doubleheader. Come on, you got to give the fans something. They're waiting for. They want something. They want content. They want.
Well, obviously, make sure to follow us tomorrow because we are gonna have a lot of Lalo for the number one. That's an interesting.
You see, they want the
take,
competition.
Michael. Yeah. I mean. Well, you want competition. I mean, and that's something that Rising always, you always hear out of Rick is they want competition because he thinks that that's what pushes them on to be as good as they can be. But, speaking of goalkeeper, your third choice, actually, there's a good question.
That's a great question.
Not so sure. Jadine White, I believe, has left. In general, third goalkeepers are somewhat of a luxury in this league. A lot of the time, you get an academy kid. I'm going to be straight with you there because Brandon Keniston is a bit of an example, academy kid. There's another one whose name escapes me, but also academy kid. Landon Carter?
Yeah, it is Landon Carter.
Landon Carter, another academy kid.
I did talk to him,
right? It's hard because do you really want to pay a third choice goalkeeper is not seeing the field. Barring an utter disaster, they're just not seeing the field.
They want Lubin back. They want the NFT god himself.
I wonder if he's too invested in the Pigeons to make a return.
He can do both at the same time. Come on,
he's busy in the metaverse. Give the guy a break.
No, he wants to be both in the meta and here. Come on now.
Come on, he's busy putting up his gallery of things in the metaverse.
Oh.
By the way, hi to Phoenix Rising Nation who's just showed up.
I'm surprised that they haven't been active on the comments. I mean, that explains it. They just arrived. Sorry that you weren't here for the whole shebang, but hey.
Give him a shirt plug just because, it's time.
Well, I mean, you were wearing the shirt. It was a perfect time for you to plug it. Come on now.
I need you to talk while I model.
Okay, so you'll be the beautiful model himself. Yeah. Please, if you haven't gotten it yet, PHNX Rising shirt. It looks great, even in person. I mean, come on.
It's the soccer bib.
It's a soccer bib. Even Sean DePaz, the drip man himself, approves of it. So if he does approve of it, you got to get it at PHNX Locker. I mean, there's other options in there, like Suns and all that, but why wouldn't you go with the Rising one? I think it's the most beautiful shirt. I'm not biased at all. Come on now.
But just a little bit of bias. Just a little bit.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, first game coming up, we want to see everyone wearing that.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, and also, right before we wrap up, goals for 500 followers on Twitter. Please send us suggestions. Yeah. Owen will take the suggestions. I mean, he wasn't too happy about the early one.
All I can say is that the more of you that buy the shirts and subscribe to the or follow us on Twitter. The easier you make it when I go around and say we need a Santi Mo gonna score some goals t-shirt. It makes it easier for us to make that case. So
That's
please,
true.
Please, we want to bring more.
They'll trust us to make more content. So please let us do that. But again, that will do it for this edition of PHNX Rising. For my partner Owen Evans and the guy behind producer who killed it all night long, Sean DePaz. They want a little more of you, so give it to them, Sean.
Can never get enough, Sean.
This is turning into the Sean Show next week. It's gonna be called PHNX Sean. Don't you worry, guys. We'll make the adjustments. But thanks again for listening, and make sure to
no Landon shirts.
No Landon shirts. You're right about that. Make sure to give a follow to wherever you get your podcast and share it. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.